This week's topic is the sociological understanding of youth. Youth is a really important thing for us to study in society because young people tend to be at the vanguard of social change. And they're treated very different ways across society and across the media, throughout politics and through culture. So youth represents the future, it represents hope. Youth are idealised often as kind of a thing of beauty, but youth are also scapegoated for all kinds of problems in society, often that they're not actually responsible for. So there's a whole lot of moral panics around young people. You'll see this in stories all the time about issues of deviance, and even things like young people apparently eating too much avocado to be able to afford buying a house. So youth is an official category normally from about 15 to 25 for things like Centrelink. The United Nations define it as 15 to 28. But in sociology, we don't think about it as a category like that. We think about youth as a social and cultural construction. And what I mean by that is that, in a way, youth has invented that time period isn't all that important in terms of development and things like that too much, but we see it as important in terms of other social and cultural meanings. So, for instance, young people are embedded in social structures, and we look at this in youth sociology in terms of what we call youth transitions. And the other wing of youth sociology is what we call youth cultures, where we look at things like leisure practices, subcultures, sport and popular culture. Youth is particularly interesting for thinking about the way that social change happens, and this is often seen through conflicts between generations. We can see this happen all the way back to Aristotle. It seems to be something that repeats itself over and over again. It seems that once people reach a certain age, they forget what it's like to be young and start blaming the young for all that seems to be wrong in the world. We call this often through moral panics that happens in the media. In particular, we see this through forms of deviance around things like pop culture, music, drugs, sex, rock and roll, all that kind of stuff that you're probably very familiar with from seeing representations of that kind of stuff in the media. And also we can think about this around struggles over power and around the ways that we think what's normal and what's not. Someone like Pierre Bourdieu talks about youth as just a word in that sense, that it's kind of an abuse of language to call all the people at the same age one thing because there's so many differences between them in terms of age and race, ethnicity, gender and the like. But it's used as a way of kind of keeping people in their place. Older people tend to denigrate the young and blame them for things that are beyond their own control. So you can see throughout the media and politics in particular that the role of young people changes. There's different kind of figurative uses of youth throughout these kind of mediums. Young people are seen as risk takers, for instance, where they are driving too fast, taking too many drugs, having the wrong kind of sex or having too much alcohol or whatever. But they're also seen as being at risk, something to be protected from all kinds of things, whether that's threats to them by other adults or whether it's to protect them from themselves. Young people are also used in advertising and in capitalism in general to kind of be representations of things that are sexy, edgy and cool, and these images are used to kind of sell us stuff. But you can see a kind of juxtaposition there between the way that young people are used through those images in the media, but then they're often kind of denigrated and scapegoated for actually doing those things in their real lives. So youth research tends to point out many of these contradictions that young people in many ways are not hiding to nothing. This is a particularly good example around politics, where there's a whole bunch of moral panics generally about how young people are kind of narcissistic and lazy and not interested in politics. But any time they do get out on the street, they're told that they're doing the wrong thing and they should be concentrating on their studies to, get the right job and this kind of thing. So in this week we'll be looking at a kind of whole bunch of research that thinks about the place of young people in society, what the kind of image and representations of youth are used for, and who benefits from that.